ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Channel 23 and the Faces of Carlsbad. It's a program where we introduce people that you might know, those that you might not know. And we want to thank Intrepid Potash for backing us up all the way as we find all these nice people here. Today I have a very nice friend here, somebody I've known a long time, and I'm going to let him introduce himself because you've got to see this gentleman in person. It's unbelievable. Hello.
Mike Cleary.
How do you like that, ladies and gentlemen? Mike Cleary. With that hat, you can't lose. Mike, it's great to see you again.
Thank you, Bob. It's good to be here.
And
I don't know, you must be getting to the bottom of the barrel, though, for faces, if you picked out a dog face like mine.
No. Very handsome. People will know you. And by the time we finish, they're going to really know you. But I'm going to throw something in before we even get started with the interview, that you and I have something in common. I mean, something very much in common, and I'm not going to mention it until the last minute of the show, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
All right, good. First off, Mike, tell us where you were born, where your parents came from, where you were born, where you grew up, and all the early days of Mike Cleary.
Well, I was born and raised in Dixon, Illinois, a little town about the size of Carlsbad, 24,000 people at that time, now to about 19 now, which is 100 miles straight west of Chicago. And Dixon is rather well known these days and has been for several decades because it's the boyhood home of Ronald Reagan.
Now, wait a minute, let's stop right there. Did you ever see Mr. Reagan?
Oh, no, but my grandmother did.
Uh-huh.
She lived right down the street from him as they were boys. That was my grandma Cleary. My grandma Healy actually remembers being in a parade, standing by a parade side as a young woman when Ronald Reagan and a bunch of Hollywood folks came back to his hometown to advertise one of the films that they were releasing. So both of my grandmothers remembered seeing Ronald Reagan. My grandma Healy, of course, just saw him in the parade. My other grandma lived down the street from him.
Isn't that amazing?
And she said they were mischievous boys, he and Dutch, or Dutch and Moon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, and he lived right down the street from the grade school, the Catholic grade school I went to, so that whole neighborhood is really well known. And in fact, my brother at one time, before they converted his old home back into a monument to him, lived above the visitor center in an apartment.
Oh,
so it's all interwoven in there. But
so President Reagan and your family
have known each other.
Have known each other.
We're not friends, we weren't close together, but they knew each other, as did everybody back then.
So he was a mischievous type of child, right?
That's what I've been told, and his brother maybe more so, because his nickname was Moon.
Moon.
I'm not going to guess how he got that nickname.
Let's not push that.
But Dutch got his nickname because his daddy said, "You look like my little Dutchman." That's how Dutch Reagan got his nickname. As a little boy,
I didn't know that. Well, Mike, as you were growing up, how many years did you spend in Dixon?
I was there until I left to go off to college.
Mm-hmm.
At age 17, I was young, one of the younger ones in my class. I went off to college. Luckily enough, the state of Illinois invested in me and gave me a scholarship, which was great news.
Oh, great.
Yeah, because I was ready to get out of the house because I was the oldest of 11.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah, oldest of 11. I was ready to get out of the house. I'm saying I'm ready to go to college and have a room of my own. Well, I didn't ended up having a room of my own. I lived in a dormitory with other guys.
Yeah.
But I went to Eastern Illinois University.
And that's located in what city?
Charleston, Illinois, down on the south side, southeast, kind of central east area of.
Fairly close to St. Louis, isn't it?
No, that's Dixon Mounds.
Oh.
That was an old Indian burial grounds.
Oh.
People always get those two mixed up.
I see.
But Charleston is a beautiful little area down there on the east side of the state. I did my.
Oh, the east side of the state.
I
was in the west.
Okay, I did my bachelor's degree there. Got my bachelor's degree in social services and criminology in '76. And then my first professional job I got was at Lakeland College in Mattoon, Illinois, which was just 25 miles away. They hired me to be an advisor for disadvantaged students. Mm-hmm. And while I was working there, then I went on and did my master's degree at EIU and worked there in Central Illinois basically until '84. And that's when I started my professional wandering.
I see. So what year did you graduate from high school?
71.
71. Oh, you're a youngster.
Oh yeah, you think so? I feel older every day.
No. That's amazing. So you stayed so many years in Illinois, and then what basically brought you west?
Well, I was walking around campus, and I was getting to be 30, and I thought, I've been in the same place, the same state all my life. I need to do something different. So I applied and got a position at Amarillo College. I worked there for 4 years, and then I decided I needed to make an advancement. And one of the ways you have to advance in higher ed, and for folks that don't know, I'm the Vice President of Student Services at New Mexico State University, Carlsbad, is you have to oftentimes relocate. You know, the next job is always down the road. And so from there, I went from Amarillo College to the University of Cincinnati and one of their branch campuses in Claremont College as an assistant dean. So I was working my way up the pecking order. And then after 4 years there, it was also during a recession in the Midwest and the Rust Belt, and this was about 90. And we were told we weren't going to have raises for 2 or 3 years, and the economy was terrible, even worse than it is now. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, well, what are we going to do? And I had promised my wife, Luann, that after so many years I would move her back to the Southwest, because we made this barter. She goes, well, I'll move to the Midwest for job advancement as long as you're willing to move back to the Southwest, somewhere close to Amarillo.
Now, she was originally from this part of the country?
She's from Amarillo,
yep. Texas.
And so we wanted to be close to her parents and take care of them. And so consequently, when it got time to start looking for a job, I said, okay, let's look at West Texas area, New Mexico. And lo and behold, the job opened up at Carlsbad. I flew down here. It was one of 3 interviews I had. I turned the other 2 down and took the job here. And that was back in 1991.
So basically, you were born what year again?
1953.
53. Was there exciting things happening in 53? Yes. The Vietnam War just basically
started going off with the French and the Americans. Yep.
Yeah. And the Korean War was.
My dad was in the Korean War.
Your dad was in the Korean War.
In fact, I didn't know my dad till I was almost 3, because when my mom and dad came back from their honeymoon, he found he found a notice to report for duty in the mailbox. So he took off while I was still in my mom's womb, so to speak.
Oh my gosh.
And so he didn't get back to the States till 3 years later after he got mustered out of the service, because they didn't bring you back and forth like they do now. You were there, you were stuck in Korea.
Yeah.
And so when he, for 3 years I was being raised by my mom, my aunts, and my grandmother, and my grandfather, and my uncles. And so it was a lot of fun. We had a big, extended, happy family.
That's fantastic. I'm overwhelmed with these. Through the interviews that we've had, some of the people have had terrifically large families. That's unbelievable. That's so nice. It's
so out of the norm now.
Yeah, well,
a large family today is 5, of course.
Yeah.
And people say, you had 10 brothers and sisters? And I go, yes, I did. In fact, I think my dad was really shooting for a dozen, but it didn't happen.
Well, my dad had just 1, and that was me, and he said, that's enough.
That's enough. That's all I can take.
I can't stand any more of this. Anyway, what drew you to these universities, this great love affair you have with the universities?
I felt blessed to have some mentors along the way as I was a young man to help me get back on the right path and go off to college, and like the state of Illinois investing in a scholarship with me. So when I thought about what I wanted to do, I thought, well, I always want to help people go on to school and better themselves and do better in their areas, whatever profession they may be. So it really worked out well, because I love working with students, even though I have to play the bad uncle sometime and talk to them, like, you got to straighten your stuff up. But it's just a delight to work with people. One of the highlights every year is to watch these folks go across the stage and graduate with the big smiles on their faces and their families applauding. It just makes my spirit soar.
Well, I saw recently, I think it was yesterday, in fact, public radio brought up the fact that in certain parts of this country, only 47% of our students are not able to read properly and even be prepared for colleges.
That is correct, and I saw that based on both the ACT and SAT scores just this last week. And it's unfortunate that, some of that's motivation on the students' part.
Yes.
They've got to learn to study themselves.
That's right.
I mean, as much as their parents can yell at them, as much as the qualified teachers can be in front of them, and as much as we can provide good places for them to study at, if they're not willing to learn, you can't do anything. And that's what's so exciting about working in the college level. Because for the most part, everybody that comes in that door wants to learn, and we'll try to help them in any way we can conquer whatever area that they want to excel in.
And the desire to read. I always had that desire to read. I
did too. I used to read. I still read a lot.
Yeah.
I used to read incessantly as a young man, as a child. As I was, I remember not too long ago, the first time we ever bought books for ourselves. We owned our own book, I mean, we had library cards, but we didn't have our own book. And remember, we had at the Catholic school I went to, they had the Scholastic book sales, and at that time you could buy a book for like a quarter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, they were. I mean, I saved my money up, and I could buy my own books. And one of the first books I bought after I got a little bit older was Hound of the Baskervilles, which we were talking about earlier.
Oh my gosh, that's the book that I read every year in all the years I taught school. I read that every year before we got started in class, one chapter a day.
Ah, that'd be fun.
And these boys in particular, I have ex-students coming up to me now, and they're in their 50s and late 50s, and they say, you know, I still read The Hound of the Baskervilles every year. Isn't that amazing?
Good for them.
Yeah. When I was in the 7th grade, I really got involved in reading when I went into our public library and got a book called I Married Adventure by Martin Johnson's wife. And he was a great explorer in Africa who didn't kill animals. He took pictures of animals.
Okay, did
and he died in
photojournalism.
an airplane crash, yeah. I don't know if you've ever heard of him before, but he was and she was quite a woman. She went with him everywhere he went.
Well, you know, The Hound of the Baskervilles got me to be a Sherlock Holmes lover.
Oh, yeah.
And I've read most of all of Sherlock Holmes, all the Sherlock Holmes 3 times now. Because I'm old enough that I forget it, and I go back and read it, and it's like a brand new story. So that's always nice.
56 short stories and 4 novels.
And
And
4 novels.
You can't miss on them.
No, and they're wonderful. And what's funny is, like a couple weeks ago, we had a nice foggy morning here in Carlsbad, and I got my Greyhound out, and I put on my deerstalker cap and took the dog through the neighborhood.
Oh, did you?
Impersonating the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Oh,
it's
I
like, I'm
love
sure
it.
my neighbors just love to see that, you know. But
What do you do in your spare time?
spare time,
Well, you don't have much spare time, but what?
Well, spare time, I collect record albums. I've got over 7,000 to 8,000 record albums now in my collection, that of all genres of music and spoken word.
We're talking about the 33s?
Yeah, the LPs.
Yeah,
Yep,
the LPs, yeah.
I've got 2 closets full and a part of a basement full, which is always nice. And I sell those off and on. I sell them in different locations. I sell them online. Over the years, my wife and I have collected furniture and had a couple of antique furniture stores here in town and
Oh, I didn't
in
know
knickknacks. Yeah, we've done that. Actually, ran an antique mall in Ruidoso for a while. She was up there running the mall, and I got to go visit her every weekend, which was wonderful. To go to Ruidoso every weekend and have a place to be and all that kind of stuff.
Did you ever run into a guy by the name of, what's his name, Guy Lutman?
No, I've never seen him.
Yeah, you never saw him?
Never saw him.
Oh my gosh, he's up there quite a lot too, I
Oh,
understand.
okay.
Yeah.
No, never met the boy.
Well, anyway.
Other things in spare times, I love playing with my dogs. I've got 6 dogs now, and so I love playing with them. And I love doing work around the house and keeping upkeep on houses and stuff like that.
So you're pretty good in repairing things around the house?
I would say I'm fair to middling, but we can get some stuff done. After a couple of practices, we can get it right.
Oh, well, good. Well, I never was very good at doing any of that. My wife says, the only thing you're good at is sitting down and doing nothing.
Well, what's good is to recruit friends that know how to do it,
That's right.
and then you help them.
Right. So if I need help, say, with linoleum in the bathroom, I could give you a call.
Linoleum's not one of my strong points.
Oh, okay.
Rough carpentry is I can do.
Oh, rough carpentry. Okay.
So if you want to enclose your back porch into and put a screen porch on, I can help you
Oh,
with that.
okay.
But,
Now, your wife is still working, is she?
she works at home, actually. She's a medical transcriptionist, so she can actually work anywhere. She's currently living in Amarillo because we own a house in Amarillo also. For family reasons, she relocated up there 3 years ago to help take care of her parents. And so she's been up there, and every 2 weeks I get to travel up and visit her, and that's nice.
So it's every 2 weeks you get to see your wife.
Yeah. You think that'll strengthen or lengthen my relationship?
Does she know you when you get there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's back.
He's back, huh? Oh, that's great. Oh, dear.
What's really funny is when we tell our situation to some of our female friends our age, they go, well, only having a husband show up every 2 weeks to do chores, that'd be pretty good.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like hiring a handyman to show up,
Absolutely. Gosh, I hope my wife doesn't hear that.
You could find yourself out the door.
Out
Come
the
back
door.
in 2 weeks.
That's right. And I don't know how to repair anything. So.
You'd be tough. You just all you can do is show up every 2 weeks and read to Wanda.
Well, that's true. So anyway, what's in the future for Mike Cleary?
Well, lots of my friends are getting close to retirement. Myself, I don't have enough money in the bank, so I don't know how quickly that's going to be around. But you know, I've been lucky enough and blessed enough to be able to work here in Carlsbad for 21 years at the university in the same position I have. The titles changed several times during the process, but it's still the same job. It just recently became vice president for the Carlsbad campus not too long ago.
Oh, you are the vice president.
So, but you know, we've built a wonderful team of instructors and staff people that to serve the local community there. So I'm so proud of that, and I want to stay with that group and work with them until I probably step out and say, okay, now it's time for Mike to pass the torch on to someone else who's younger, more energetic, has better ideas.
Yeah, I understand that the university has increased the number of students they've been getting.
Yeah, we set a record this fall, which was great. We've really increased the number of online offerings we have. So one of the areas that we increased students in was from students from our sister campuses, Grants, Alamogordo, Doña Ana, and Las Cruces are taking courses with us online. We increased the number of dual credit students, the students at the high school that are taking classes. In fact, that gentleman you mentioned, Guy Wetman, his granddaughter's taking a class with us. And she's a remarkable young woman. And we were up over 500 local high school students taking classes with us from Artesia, Carlsbad, and Loving, and Jefferson Montessori Academy. So we've got a nice mixture of returning adults, kids right out of high school, dual credit students, and then also the online. That's what pushed us up over the 2,000 mark this fall.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So the future for New Mexico State University Carlsbad seems to be pretty bright.
We're looking really good, I think. If we're able to maintain the level of online courses that we have, we're bringing some new programs online. We've got extremely strong nursing program. We've enhanced all of our science capabilities. We've got a health information technology program that's going to come on. That's another allied health related program. We're looking at a couple other possibles allied health programs which people might be really interested in, like surgical tech is being discussed. There's a good possibility of adding things there because you know there's so many jobs available in the information technology area, plus also in the medical field, and the blending of those two are going right hand in hand as they switch everything from paper information to medical information on computers and things of that nature.
I remember two professors impressed me more than any others through the years. One was at Northwestern, Dr. Bergen Evans. I don't know if you're familiar with the name. He was a famous English instructor, and the first time I went into his class, there were over 600 students in that auditorium. That's where he taught. The other one was Don Keister at the University of Akron. Every day he'd come in reading a book, Charles Dickens, not the Hound of the Baskerville, David Copperfield, or
Great Expectations.
Great Expectations, and I was so impressed, and he would keep reading it until he sat down, and then he would close his book, put the paper in, look at us and say, "Open your books now, please." And boy, we'd go on. We respected him so much, and we were so impressed with both of these men. I had a lot of great teachers, but that's what these kids need. They need instructors that they can tie in with and never forget who they are as they get older. Am I correct in that?
And then it can inspire them.
Inspire them.
I think that's what the tough part is, because I think it's hard for teachers to inspire people these days. Yeah. Because they're competing all the time.
They're competing all the time.
You're competing with YouTube, you're competing with this, you're competing with that. But I'm like you. Sometimes you find the right instructor and you're just enraptured with that one. And I had some similar ones at Eastern and also University of Illinois and other areas places I've attended. Some great teachers. All
right. Now at the beginning of the program, I said you and I have something in common. Have you been able to figure out what it might be?
We both have black shoes on.
Forget the shoes.
Oh, excuse me.
It's something else, though.
We both have 7 listeners.
We both have a love affair of neckties. Because you and I are always picking up neckties.
That's true.
And mostly at the Cat's Meow where we can find neckties. But
I have about 65 vintage neckties that I don't wear because they're very old, 20s and 30s and 40s. Yeah. Hand-painted ones, sequins on them, some beautiful ones. And then I've got quite a few new modern silk ones too. But yes, I've got over probably about 200 ties.
That's amazing.
Shoot, I thought it was because we both had a radio show.
Well, you're good at radio, but anyway.
I've got a face for radio.
Mike, I want to thank you for being our guest. I really do. You've been terrific, and I can only wish you the best in the future.
Thank you so much.
And on behalf of Channel 23, Intrepid Potash, and the Faces of Carlsbad, goodbye and good luck.